Anyone ever call a bathroom wall number? One night in Austin, TX a few friends and I were at a local bar for a night out. I had to use the ladies' room. I walked into a stall, sat down, and saw a phone number written on the side stating underneath, "Fuck you, Katie. You're a fucking bitch." Naturally, I whipped out my phone and proceeded to dial the number. At this point in the night, I wasn't exactly in a normal state of mind, so I let the ringing begin. No answer. Oh, well. She'll never know. I wash my hands and head back out into the bar. A few seconds later I get a return call from the mysterious stall number. I answer and promptly ask, "Is this Katie?" She says, "Yee." I simply informed her, "Someone thinks you're a fucking bitch." She immediately flipped her shit and began inquiring as to who I am and who I'm speaking for, etc. I drunkenly inform her that while I was in the restroom, I read a note and simply dialed the number, reasoning that she deserved to know. She couldn't understand me due to the noise in the bar, so she starts cussing me out, hangs up, and starts a text war. It's on. After berating me via text, I calmly text her the information I tried to convey over the phone. She finally understood the intended message and proceeded to bitch me out again. She stated, "This must be Jacqueline. Or one of her whore friends. Either way, get over the fucking fact I stole your man. TL. Drive. Katie is a fucking bitch." When I was in high school there was a number in the boys' locker room. It was a girl's name and a number. Most of the guys ignored it, but then my friend and I added it to our contacts list because cellular phones were just becoming affordable for teens. We wanted to see who would pick up when we called. We agreed that we weren't going to call during school hours, so we were going on Saturday. We forget. Months go by and my friend and I meet the server at a burger stand who tells us that she goes to our school. She gives my friend her number, and what do you know? It's the locker room number. At first we chalked it up to being a coincidence. Maybe it was an old number and she just got it. But no, same name, same number for so many years. Later on she told us that her ex-boyfriend was a dick and that he wrote her number all over town when they broke up, but she got back at him when she emailed his parents a picture of him snorting coke off their dining room table. TL. Doctor, number in locker room belonged to a decent girl who worked at a burger stand, and her ex was a coke snorting dick. Naivety and a sense of rebellion do not mix well. When I was about 10 years old, I decided to start referring to myself as a teenager. Sure, I might have been a few years shy of legitimately qualifying for the label, but I didn't care. Being a teenager was an attitude, and I had that attitude in spades. I did my best to act aloof and independent, and if ever there was an opportunity to showcase my grizzled toughness, you could bet that I'd take it. I'd stay up past my bedtime, play video games without asking permission, and sometimes, if I was feeling especially bold, I'd eat with my elbows on the table. I was, in a word, a badass. That was why, when I found a message reading for a really great fuck, call XXXXXXX and ask for latte on the wall of the public library's bathroom, I decided to write down the number and give it a call. Now, you might be shocked or disturbed to picture a 10-year-old boy propositioning an anonymous phone number for sex, and rightly so. The thing is, I didn't actually know what fuck meant at the time. The bathroom graffiti could have read for a really great goddamn, and I would have had the same reaction. I was vaguely aware that fuck was a naughty word, but beyond that, I was clueless. For all I knew, Lape was going to tell me a dirty joke, reveal a dangerous secret, or maybe just recite a particularly inflammatory monologue. Still, I knew it was going to be good, and more importantly, it was a teenager thing to do. Upon arriving back at home, I asked my mother if I could use the phone. I told her, in true rebellious teenager fashion, that I was going to call one of my friends. Little did she know that I was actually about to get a really great fuck. After getting permission, not that I actually needed it, of course, I hid in the back corner of my closet and dialed the number from the bathroom wall. A few rings later, a woman picked up. BUENO. In my deepest and most gravelly voice, which probably sounded something like a muppet with a cold, I replied, "Yeah, I'm calling for that really great fuck. QUR?" Keep in mind, I didn't know what to expect, nor did I speak Spanish. I assumed that QUR meant okay. and that I was supposed to guide the exchange forward. So, I said the only thing that came to mind. I've heard a lot of great fucks, so this fuck better be the greatest. Ha. I was being so rebellious, and the woman I had called was undoubtedly impressed by it. "QUR?" she asked again. I was at a loss. Was there some sort of protocol to be followed here? A code word of sorts? Wait, that must be it. Fuck, I loudly declared. Unfortunately, my mother had chosen that moment to walk into my room. "Maximum," she yelled, "what did you just say?" To make a long story short, I had my phone privileges revoked, and I was grounded from video games for a week. I was disappointed and upset, to be sure, but I kept a quiet sense of triumph too. After all, I might not have gotten my fuck from Lupe, but I sure as hell gave her a good one. Not exactly like this, but I have a related story. Some years ago I was tripping on acid with friends and wandering around SFMOMA. We found a really cool piece of art that included a phone number listed as home office, so we decided to call it. Turned out that it was the artist's home phone number and he answered. Told him we really liked his work and would he like to hang out with us. He wasn't busy, so he said sure, and we told him to come meet us at a nearby bar, telling him that we would be the ones carrying balloons with faces on them. He came and met up with us, and we actually ended up taking him home to a party we were having at our house, and hung out the rest of the night. Cool guy. Surreal experience. A friend of mine called for a free BJ called Terry XXXXXXXXXXX. A deep voice picked up and laughed at our proposition, then hung up. A few hours later he got a call back from a soft lisp Y voice asking, "This is Terry, are you ready?" My friend then set up a meeting with Terry at the mall. Except he gave the name of another friend, Kevin, who was a manager at a sub and sandwich place. Being a good friend, he let him know that a smoking hot babe Terry was going to come by and introduce herself later. Later the manager retold the encounter as follows, sans curse words. Milton from Office Space walks up to order and says, "Hi, I'm Terry, are you Kevin?" Orders a footlong with extra meat and mayonnaise. He keeps asking if my name is Kevin and if I'm ready. I point to my name tag several times and answer yes. When it was time to pay, he asked should I wait here or. I told him he had to pay first. I didn't suspect anything weird until he sat down about 15 feet away and started deep-throating the footlong and licking the mayo. He didn't leave until security asked him to. TL. Doctor, when you call bathroom wall numbers and set them up with your friends at work, hilarity ensues. One day, I received several vulgar text messages from an unknown number. After discovering that the sender was a gay male and informing him that I was female, he became considerably more polite and claimed that he'd found my cell phone number in a men's restroom at the college my ex-boyfriend was currently attending. Now, whether this was one of my scumbag ex's friends, and my ex had simply given him my number to mess with me, or whether it was legitimately written on the bathroom stall, I may never know. I didn't know any other males at the school at that time, so I was unable to verify the story. Regardless, the messages stopped, and I never received any more. I used to know a gay guy. He was a mentally unstable man whore, and he would put up his number like this. I know, because he was a friend of mine for a while, and I was taking a shit, and saw his number on the bathroom stall. In his unmistakable handwriting. He had a fetish for giving straight guys head, which made for some interesting email exchanges that sometimes would get shared with me. Reading an exchange from some guy who didn't want his GF to catch him, or for anyone from the football team to find out was kind of a laugh, as he ended every email with "This is going to be the last time." The guy later went on to burn down my garage and refused to pay any of the damages even after a court order. So I try to avoid him and would recommend not calling those numbers, as the person on the other end either didn't leave it there or is mentally unstable. This isn't a phone number story, but it is about having something written about you on bathroom stalls, so it seems appropriate here. My friend Nina and I were drinking at our favorite bar last summer when out of the blue she demands, "Give me a Sharpie. I'm going to write something dirty about you in the girls' bathroom," because that's the sort of impulsive thing Nina does when she drinks. Sure, I say and hand her the Sharpie. What she wrote was "Employee No 5 is so good it hurts." Now, it's useful to know that in place of employee05, I actually have an unusual first name. It's not very common and often considered cool, and I usually get compliments and/or questions about it. Point is, you're not very likely to meet another employee 05 in our city, or most places, so my first name on a bathroom wall is still both memorable and very identifying. As we continue to go out as frequent drinking buddies, Nina continues to do this to every bar we visit, or sometimes just out on her own, when she thinks of it, in one of the girls' stalls of each establishment. After more than a year of her little bar hobby, every major drinking spot or nightclub in our city now has it, depending on how often they scrub stall graffiti, and she has redone some, as well as when we are traveling and visiting friends in other cities around the country. On at least a dozen occasions in the last year, since she started this, I have been introduced to, or started talking to a woman who upon hearing my uncommon name will say, "Oh my god, are you the employee 05 from the ladies' room? Or are you employee 05 so good it hurts?" I see that everywhere. My girlfriends and I were saying we have to find you someday. I always say something along the lines of, "Oh geez, is that still there?" A silly lady friend of mine writes that. I won't lie about it, but they usually don't ask much either, which leaves things kind of mysterious and ambiguous. Regardless of what they ask, it is always a good flirty conversation starter. No one takes it seriously, I think, but it does start things off in a humorous and semi-sexual way when it's come up, and it lets you begin meeting someone with a little bit of weird infamy of sorts. Nina says this is her way of wingmaning for me, as she's too lazy to do anything otherwise. And it definitely works, when it's actually recognized. One time while pissing at a bar, I saw an ex-girlfriend's number written above the urinal with the word slut next to it. Totally wasn't my writing either, so it didn't get there during a blackout or something like that from me. I'm pretty sure it was put there by her ex before me, who had probably as much reason to hate her as much as me. Anyway, apparently she would get calls, texts, voicemails, etc. from people all the time. I'm pretty sure all of them were joking, but I'm not really sure. I would have found it extremely hilarious if I wasn't the one that always got blamed for it. Every time she got a call/text, I got a phone call from her harassing me. When I was in college studying criminal justice, we did some research about this. A long time ago, a researcher started to follow male prostitutes around town to figure out how prostitution in the male community worked. He would oftentimes follow them into bathrooms and then blackmail the people into answering questions or exposing them to the family. Don't quote me on this. It was about 5 years ago when I took this class. Anyways, our research was going to be figuring out if these numbers in the bathrooms belong to real people offering sexual services or to victims of some angry ex-boyfriend/girlfriend/wife/husband. We scoured bathrooms across 6 major cities in TX and found 200 plus names. Turns out that most of them were victims of people just pissing off the wrong person. Either that or the people on the other end saying, "I just got this number and people call me once a week for sexual favors blah blah blah." Basically, once the number is tagged, it becomes an annoyance for anyone who owns it. The rest, I want to say about 1/3 of the numbers, were real. Most were gay men and or girls who had pimps the guys would answer and then try to set something up with you. We spoke with one guy who was a pimp and said he had 5 girls in the town working with him. He was pretty cool and answered some questions. Why did he do it? Easy advertisement, and most truckers are lonely, so there are those numbers. He almost never gets calls from regular people. How did he get started? He and his GF were low on rent one month and they decided to prostitute her to at a trucking gas station. She now gets girls to do the same. How much money does he make? If the girls set up the deal, they keep 70%, and if he sets up the deals, he gets percent 70. STDs. He doesn't know, but usually when a girl gets one, they keep on trucking till the customers see it, and even then, sometimes they don't care. What if they get caught? The girls go to jail. He bails them out the first time, but after that they are on their own. What if police call him? He used a Go phone and redirected the call to a different phone, which in turn did the same. So they can't track him via phones. One of the phones stays connected to the wall at all times and never moves location. This is usually a friend's house or a random place. The rich ones used solar panels to charge the phone at a vacant lot, etc. He also never went back to pick up the phone. He just buys a new one and transfers the number. We spoke with him for like 45 minutes before he joked and said, "Yeah, all niggas gonna pay me for this? I gotta go make dado." Then hung up. The rest of the numbers were gay men who were looking to make some quick cash. Hope it helps. Motherfucking shit. This post brings up a not so fond memory for me. About 2 years ago I randomly got a call from a man whose native language was not English. The conversation goes like this. "Hello. Is a palindromy there? Yes, this is he. Do you want crazy man sex? WTF. I found this number on the bathroom wall at a truck stop. It says to call you for crazy man sex. It takes me a second to process what had been done to me. Suddenly, this very straight sounding man realizes that he is asking a straight man for crazy man sex. We hang up. I forget to ask him where he saw it. Shit. About a month later I get another call from a very burly sounding truck driver. He has a deep voice and I imagine him looking like the guy in the racist redneck meme except much fatter. We have a similar conversation, but this dude sounds really uncomfortable after he realizes I'm not down for crazy man sex. I remember to ask this guy where he found it, but even when telling me where it was I could tell that he wanted nothing more than to get off the phone with me. He was definitely embarrassed that he had been duped. I finally called the truck stop and asked them to go paint over it. It took them about a month to do it because I got a few more calls where people just hung up. I never did find out who did it to me. TL. Doctor, yes, people call the numbers on walls. And since they do, I'm assuming that some of the numbers are legit. It was actually a couple of weeks ago. I was watching a horrible film at my local movie theater. It was slightly run down and was a more old school theater, and so I walked out. Naturally, before I went I decided to use the bathroom as I desperately had to pee and my house was 2 miles away. I walked. Upon entering a stall I see a phone number with the caption, "I'm a horny girl looking for a good time. Hit me up." Seeing as I had nothing better to do, I called the number. A woman answered, and after exchanging greetings, I told her that I was looking for a good time. She gives me her address, which was actually 5 minutes from the theater, and me, still being curious and slightly foolish, decide to go to the address. I ring the doorbell, and I'm greeted by my 22-year-old uncle, dressed in a tight skirt and some sexy ass heels. Turns out that he spends his days cross-dressing and mimicking female vocals. A few years back somebody put my number on the wall of a men's toilet. After I got a couple of strange texts requesting I meet up for some manly intimacy, I responded to one and asked the guy to send me a pic of the wall with my number on it so I can be sure he's really there and eager for sexy times. He indeed sent me a pic and it sure looked like my number. However, the digit 1 looked more like a badly scrawled 7. Hence I was getting horny texts. Made me wonder how many sensual encounters were lost because of poor penmanship. Back when I was a senior in high school, there was a number on a stall that said for a good time, call XXXXXXXXXX. One night, my friends and I, being the idiots we were, called this number. A guy named Dean answers. For some reason, the phone got handed off to me, and I say into the phone, "I heard I should call this number for a good time." He goes silent for a few seconds, then tells us to come to the store across from the mall. Half of us were drunk, and the other half had nothing better to do, so we show up. The guy ends up being a musician, albeit a shitty one, and he has his guitar with him. So we go for a hike with him, and in the middle of the woods at about 9 PM, he pulls out his guitar and we all just sit there telling jokes and stories for hours. One of the best nights I ever had in high school. TL. Doctor, for a good time, called Dean. Not really a bathroom story, but I read this and thought of the Jenny song as everyone here must have. One night taking a girl named Jenny home after our first date, although we had hung out many times before at the bar we both went to. She said, "Oh, I have to give you my number, we must hang out again," or something to that effect. I replied with, "I have your number." Her face fills with fear, most likely thinking, "Oh god, he seemed so nice." And then I sang 867, 5309, and did the Nyaeen. My best attempt, sorry. She must have really been hit by the "I have your number" line I said, cause it took her the longest 120 seconds of my life to laugh. Not a bathroom, but still relevant. My brother played rugby as a sport, so every Saturday, we'd travel to the closest city to play. My friends and I, all 13, were bored by that, so we made our way over to the playground. 13 and on a playground. Yes. Close bracket. Anyway, the slide there had a number on it. Call Karen and we'll have a good time. XXXXXXXXXXX, so I thought, why not? I called the number, and a man picked up. "You're looking for a good time?" he asked. Hesitating, I nodded. "I am. I'll be there soon," he replied softly, and hung up. So, me and my friends acted as if we had no idea of the call, waiting to see this man. In the distance, up the street, a naked man wearing a pink fez with a veil trailing out of it, was making his way towards us. Approaching closer, he called out to us, "My name is Karen." And he ran down to the beach, never to be seen again. TLDR, called a number and a naked man wearing a fez named Karen appeared. I used to use the app Bluff My Call a lot. It was super fun. One time we called the number on a warm bathroom wall. It said something like "call for a good time." Basic bathroom number BS. So we called it from a friend's number. Because that's funny. Some guy answers, and I'm like, "Yeah, hey, I found your number on a wall and well, I'm looking for a good time." "Who is this?" "This is Tom. Just looking for a good time." We used my friend Tom's number. Figured it'd be funny if he called back. "Well, Tom, you can go fuck yourself. I'm giving your number to the police." Click. We called Tom and warned him. Nothing came out of it except for a pissed off Tom. On a side note, for a good time, call Tom. 732-857-5659.